Hey, we're live. Hey, thank you, Moose. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. Hey, how do you like it so far? We're coming in with episode number 1120 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network. As you know, WQEE Radio podcast form and YouTube Live. And I'm here in South Florida. This is a DuPont Media production. Darren is in Toronto. He's running the whole show. He's got it all figured out today. And I can guarantee you something, everybody, today. Today's show is going to be fantastic, just like yesterday's. And I have to tell you, analytics are a beautiful thing. And we can tell you that ratings doubled on our first day of Grey Cup week coverage. So that's going to be a huge theme of today's program. Today, we have our NFL and NHL to get to, too, but a very large share of today's show is going to be dedicated to the Canadian Football League and the Grey Cup. And Moose, let me just say, wonderful job. You're looking great. It's another day where I just think your hair is it's just stunning and magnificent. And I'm wanting to know how you're doing today.
I'm doing great. I was a little under the weather yesterday, but I'm top of the world today. And the sun everything's great. Sun is out, the coffee's hot, all good things.
Yeah, well, we're blaming airport food for that. Airport food took Moose down, not the KFC buffet in Weyburn this time. So, I'm glad you toughed it out. As I said that day that you were sending things out of every orifice in your body in the airport in Regina, I said, it's a long way from your heart because you wanted to shut it down and go home. I'm like, you're not going home.
That's right.
So, here we are. Coming up on today's Tuesday of Grey Cup week, we're going to be joined by Dave Pedersen, the sports doctor out of Winnipeg, and Chris Walby, potentially the greatest Canadian Football League lineman ever, and I would say certainly in Winnipeg Blue Bomber history. So there's a real blue flavor to today's program. Oh, yeah, and we don't have the director, Jordan, with a show horn today because IKS Media is busy with other things, so it's just me and Moose today. And Joe Gunnis and our COO and the gang at WQEE Radio and Game Plus flying the ship. And Craig Campbell checking in, I see, from the Hockey Hall of Fame. He says it was a big night last night at the Hockey Hall of Fame induction. I'm sure it was, Craig. Thank you. Great job. I didn't watch at all or follow the coverage because until Theron Fleury's inducted, I'm not as interested as I used to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. That's a personal thing, but we're here. I do want to say this. Again, the analytics showed that our coverage yesterday, we've got double the ratings, television and digital, for our coverage of the Grey Cup. So before I jump into what happened with the Edmonton Oilers last night, the 13th man of the Buffalo Bills, the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, Randy Ambrosie, held his State of the League address this morning. It's normally on the Friday. He did it today. The first two things that I've seen come out of it, before we jump into the normal stuff, we're going to spend a lot of time, Darren, on the CFL later on, but they're going back to a balanced schedule next season. So every team will play their opponents twice minimum. So East Division teams will play the West at home and on the road. Going back to, I don't know what the change was. I got to go back and watch the video of the Ambrosie thing. I didn't watch it live today because I had a meeting with my lawyer here in Boca Raton, Florida. I didn't see it. So I got to go back and get the coverage of it. And he also said Saturday playoff games are here to stay. I think the quote is, that's a lock. So to be honest with you, a lot of people are applauding Randy Ambrosie for that. I'm sure there's other things that have come out of the State of the League address, but those are big things. Darren and I approved if we had Rick Regan here to say it in our sound effects. What do you think of that news?
There was some talk, too, about expansion, that they're talking to somebody in Halifax, but Randy's saying we have to decide if we're moving ahead or not. We can't, keep talking about it and not moving forward in one way or the other. So that was kind of cool, but there's some meaningful discussion there. But I'm with you. The biggest one was the balanced schedule. Every team will play each team twice, once at home, once away, minimum. I think that's great. So you're going to see it's a small league. You want to be able to see all these stars from across the league come into your stadium, and you want to go on the road to visit them all. And obviously, if there's going to be a touchdown Atlantic again, that will eliminate a home game and all the rest. But that's big news for the Canadian Football League. Really big.
Hey, I see from the comments, everybody's fired up, and we got a lot to get to today with regards to CFL topics. The Winnipeg Jets are in action tonight. Kevin the Medium has checked in. He says, good morning, RP peeps, repping the Calgary people. But Reg Dunlop's got a couple of questions. Everybody just, chill for a sec. Chill, okay? I'm glad you're all into it, but just settle for a second. I'll get to everybody, I swear. And if I don't get to you, get my attention, I'll get back to you. Number one, they want to know where you ate that you got food poisoning. I think that's the most important thing today. I think you should tell the world what made you sick.
We're kind of narrowing it down. I'll retrace my steps because I'm gonna guess it was the buffet line at the airport lounge. That's what I'm gonna guess. And although the chicken parm was really good, it was later in the day. Maybe it had been sitting out for a bit. I don't know. But
God bless Moose, everybody, because the first time he got just rancid food poisoning, and almost killed him. Like, I did feel bad for you, but I also wasn't going to let you off the hook and let you go home because we were flying to Houston that day to host a sports trip. It was the KFC buffet. And now this second, I admire Darren's intestinal fortitude by saying, okay, I'll try. I'll give it another try. I'll try another buffet. Zap! Got him again. Are you done with buffets now, Moose?
Oh, man. Well, the Golden Corral's never let me down. So
never will.
It never will. But can you imagine, middle of the night, Jason Sudeikis picking up the phone and having that talk with Vince Vaughn about, I don't think I can go, man. I don't think I can go. And you gave me a little pep talk at 5:30 in the morning, and you said, just get to the airport.
That's right. And we'll take care of you from there. And Reg Dunlop also says, did that too many men penalty in Monday Night Football bring back some bad chills for you, Rod? No, and I think it's important to mention, and we will get to this, Buffalo Bills were felled by the exact same scenario on Monday Night Football as what cost us the Grey Cup in 2009 with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But as I told Darren in our morning meeting today, and it's in my commentary, you can read it at rodpeterson.com. It runs on Sask Radio today. There were Rough Riders taking to social media last night saying that they were triggered. They had PTSD from, they're like, thanks, Bills, for bringing up the worst memory of our lives last night. The guys that were part of that 2009 Grey Cup team. But I told Darren, if you process the traumatic events of your life, I'm sorry to go all serious on you and all recovery, but maybe it's a good thing that I do. You process the traumatic events of your life, the bad memories, so when they come up later in life, it has no effect on you. But if you bury them and you stuff them, and you just don't want to talk about it, you don't want to deal with it, you never know when it's going to trigger you later in life. And it can have disastrous, potentially fatal consequences. PTSD, that's a fact. So did it trigger me last night? Not at all. When 2009 happened and afterwards, it was horrible for all of us involved, and fans too. But I've dealt with it. I don't think about it. It doesn't bother me one bit, but I've dealt with it. Now, back to the quick six. We diverted enough for 8 minutes. We got to talk about this. Point one, Leon Draisaitl had a goal and 3 assists. Connor McDavid had a goal and a helper. The Edmonton Oilers beat the New York Islanders 4-1 Monday night in Chris Knobloch's debut as Oilers coach. I just loved it so much. It was Knobloch's first game since taking over for the fired Jay Woodcroft on Sunday. Zach Hyman and Evander Kane also scored. Stuart Skinner had 32 shots. Let's not forget the Islanders lost 5 in a row now, but it doesn't really matter. But I was listening to NHL radio this morning, and as they say, if you can take one thing away, and Dave Poulin was on there saying, and listen, I get it. He captained the Flyers. He is a Bruins great. Poulin can say it. If I say it, I'm an idiot, but if Poulin says it, it carries a lot more weight. I get that. But he thought the firing of Jay Woodcroft was knee-jerk and too soon. He goes, I would have liked to have seen a trade with a star player before firing the coach. Now, it doesn't really matter now. I mean, they did demote Jack Campbell. That didn't have the desired results, right? They went into San Jose and lost after that, Darren. But what he said was bringing Paul Coffey onto the bench will be the biggest move they make. I mean, I'm happy for Chris Knobloch. He's from Imperial, Saskatchewan. He got screwed over in the WHL, exiled, forced to take a really long road to the NHL through the OHL and Erie, through the American League and Hartford. He was with Philly for a couple of years as an assistant coach, but had he been allowed to stay in the dub, he could have probably made it to the NHL a hell of a lot faster. But that road to redemption, the longer it is, the sweeter it is. when you hit the destination. So there's one other game in the NHL that I'll get to. But I again, Paul Coffey, probably the biggest hiring and move out of this whole thing. How did you feel about what went down at Rogers Place last night?
Yeah, and they responded. And the big one is, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl got going last night. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
They got one for the coach, and McDavid was in the media. Of course, he was asked about Jay Woodcroft, and he said that, Jay never lost the room, and nothing true about that. And that's that. Well, that's good. Doesn't mean he's going to keep his job. But, for Chris Knobloch, you want a coach to come in. You want him to be able to have some success right away. He did that. I think that's great. And for the Oilers, you hope they can continue on. For Knobloch, you hope they can continue to ride this wave a little bit and get back on track. But it starts with Connor and Leon. And when they're going, the Oilers are going. When they're not going, it feels like the Oilers aren't going.
It's just amazing. And Connor said it after the game, McDavid, that yes, Chris has taken a long road to get here. And he also said he didn't say much. He basically said, go out and play. Sometimes that's all you got to do. You would think with that talent they do only got to open the door. That's it. And by the way, Flames, we're coming at you. I got thoughts on the Calgary Flames in a second. They're at Montreal tonight. But we're moving on. Mikko Rantanen and Ross Colton scored 2 minutes apart midway through the second period, and the Colorado Avalanche beat the Seattle Kraken 5-1 on Monday night. That's the only other NHL game. Point two, Orchard Park, New York. Broncos kicker Will Lutz made good on his do-over field goal attempt, getting a second chance after missing wide right from 41 yards thanks to Buffalo being flagged for too many players. Lutz connected on a 36-yard field goal attempt as time expired to secure a 24-22 win over the sloppy, turnover-prone Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. The Bills continue to sink out of the playoff picture, having dropped 4 of 6. And can we check on Joe Lazito? His two teams are the Buffalo Bills and the New York Islanders, and they both Monday night. Joe Lazito, are you listening? Can we do a welfare check on Joe Lazito? I've given my thoughts on that. It played out exactly the same way as the 2009 Grey Cup. That's a championship ripped out of your pocket. Yes, it was traumatic for all of us. But that's kind of, I said what I had to say on that. What do you think about that and its similarity to the CFL championship game of 2009?
Well, it is similar. It took a win away off the board when you missed that field goal and you think you've won. The Bills are in a tough spot because they're trying to stay in the chase for a playoff spot, let alone being Super Bowl contenders like everybody thought they were at the beginning of the year. They've come out and fired their offensive coordinator this morning. The Bills have, after that game. But it's not the same because you had a team basically running onto the field like they had won a championship. They had won a championship, and then it gets ripped away. So you cannot compare regular season to championships. Doesn't matter how tough it feels, but I get it. They're pretty devastated in Buffalo this morning.
Well, you know that everybody's going to say, what are you firing Ken Dorsey for, the offensive coordinator? He wasn't out there on the field. He wasn't the extra man. He wasn't the special teams coordinator. But the Bills have failed to score more than 26 points in any game this season. Josh Allen looks terrible. So what are you going to do? Get rid of Josh Allen? Nope. Fire the coach. Back to what Dave Poulin said this morning. He's like, the Oilers took the easy way out, really, the easier way by firing Jay Woodcroft. And we'll see if it pays any dividends. But that's why Ken Dorsey was fired in the wake of Monday Night Football. It didn't have anything to do with the extra penalty for them. Moving on, and now we'll get into the CFL talk. We got a lot of stuff to get to today. And before we talk about the game, let's look backwards for a second. Brian in Hudson Bay, Saskatchewan, wrote in yesterday, and I said, this near the end of the show, and I'm like, this would be a great topic for tomorrow. Can you remind me? You didn't, Brian. Thanks a lot. But I saved the text. Sober Carpenter text line, 902-518-3033. He says, what did you guys think of Chad Kelly storming off the field and not congratulating at least the opposition quarterback on Saturday? That's the quarterback of the Toronto Argonauts, Jim Kelly's nephew. And oh boy, is this a delicious topic for me. We got about 90 seconds before we got a break. I hope I can squeeze it in there. Chad Kelly lost the game. Worst performance as an Argo quarterback, worst performance as a pro for Chad Kelly. Stormed off the field, didn't shake anybody's hand, and didn't display sportsmanship. He displayed poor sportsmanship. Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser. Write it down, Moose. Today's meme, and I got very, very strong thoughts on this because Bill Belichick, 16-0 Patriots, lose the Super Bowl and to the Giants, storms off the field in Arizona, didn't shake anybody's hand. A WHL coach who will remain nameless after a second-round series against Medicine Hat that they lost would not shake hands after the game with the Tigers coach. Don't want to name him. He's now in the NHL and might have been at the White House yesterday. Didn't affect his career. Didn't affect Belichick's career. So if you can look in the mirror with these actions, then it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks because it didn't hold back those guys. And I don't know that it's going to hold back Chad Kelly. It's similar to what we've talked about with Biz Nasty. And they're like, I like him. I like Biz, been great to me. But the crude things that he says and does in front of a camera and on his podcast, I can't believe the NHL endorses that. You said the other day, would Kelly Rudy say these things? I'm like, would Kelly Rudy survive saying these things? And I'm like, Kelly Rudy wouldn't say it. Why does some guys get away with it and some guys don't? So my point on the Chad Kelly thing is, you do what you want, bro. You'll be judged in the end. And I don't have a problem with it. We got to take a break, and I'll get your take, Darren, plus the 110th Grey Cup. That's our poll question. We'll get to that, too, right after this. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
3.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And did I tell you that Manscaped has done it again? Everybody, I just chuckle because, as Moose knows, my bathroom looks like a shed in your garden, in your backyard, because I got the handyman, the weed whacker, the lawnmower, and you can too. 20% off with the promo code VRP show. Weed whackers for your nose and ears, the lawnmowers for downstairs, and the handyman shavers for upstairs. It's the one the size of your cell phone, probably smaller, actually, the charges by USB. Get in on the latest, everybody, from Manscaped, the worldwide leader in men's grooming. The RP shows the promo code, get 20% off. Talking about Chad Kelly. Hey, it's Grey Cup week. We're settling into the CFL talk now, so come on all in here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, and all the podcast platforms and streaming. We're talking, though, first about Chad Kelly, the Toronto Argonauts quarterback who had the worst game as a pro Saturday, stormed off the field after the loss. Jim Kelly's nephew didn't shake hands. A lot of people beating up on him for that. John Ohm in Winnipeg says Chad Kelly owes nothing to anyone but himself. Whatever. Get over it, haters. That's what I think. Janelle regarding Bill Belichick doing the exact same thing in the Super Bowl. She goes, and Bill got a lot of flack for that. I'm sure he did. I'm also sure he doesn't care. Patrolman Pete writes in regarding my quote, show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. Patrolman Pete says, is that quote about losers from Bobby the Brain Heenan? I don't know where it's from, but I've always saved it and thought of it for days like today. And there are more comments, but it's not just my show. I want to let you talk too. Moose, what do you think about Chad Kelly storming off the field and not shaking hands?
I mean, it's not always a great look when you don't shake hands. You want to be able to still show some sportsmanship and toe that line. But your line holds true, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's his competitive edge that makes him so mad at himself. And it's not necessarily that he's being outwardly disrespectful to the Montreal Alouettes. I don't necessarily see that. I think, inadvertently, he ends up being disrespectful to them, not shaking their hands and congratulating them. But I think in that situation, he's just so mad at himself that you're like, oh, I just want to get in there and start smashing stuff. And I want to be done with this game. And I want to get back to work and get ready for next year and be out of here, and you just want to be anywhere but that field. And so when that takes over, that's what he does. You just leave the field. And so you kind of, you don't admire it, but you understand, what he's feeling in that situation. And if he went back and could process things in the moment and say, you know what, I am really upset, I should shake their hands and then go smash the chairs in the locker room. But you can't go back,
Oh, hey, I guess my point in all of this is I'm not advocating that he was right. What I'm saying is other guys have done the exact same thing and seemingly never had to pay for it in history. So get off the guy's back. That's what I'm like. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's very similar to my guy, Darian Durant, getting a $7,000 signing bonus from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and then not reporting to training camp and retiring. I couldn't do it. But if you can do it and look in the mirror and sleep just fine, then that's entirely up to you. Interestingly enough, Bob McCullough writes in and he says, losing with class isn't weakness. You can have a burning competitive fire and a deep hatred of losing, but still shake hands after a loss. Who's saying that he's displaying weakness or not? I'm not saying any of that. Again, what I'm saying is you do you, and history will judge you. That you understood that, didn't you, Darren?
Yes.
What I'm saying, like, again, it didn't affect Belichick. I go back to the things, just the outlandish things. Like, I want to listen to the Spit and Chickas podcast. I follow some of this, biz, and the things that I see, I'm like, it's outlandish and it's crude, and I don't understand. I mean, you go do that, but I don't understand how he's on the NHL on TNT set, and then now Hockey Night in Canada, but he can. I don't get how this works. Am I, in your mind, do you see a parallel? Am I on the same, or are they completely different in your mind?
No, certain people can do certain things and get away with it, and other people can't. And sometimes you just can't explain it. I can't show up to an event wearing a sweatsuit, but Tom Brady can, and he looks like $1 million, and it's acceptable. I look like I'm $10 and not acceptable. You know what I mean? It's certain people can get away with certain things. The rules don't apply. And then unfortunately we put rules in to apply to the lowest common denominator because, we have to, and it doesn't make sense at all. So will Chad Kelly be able to withstand this? Yes. If he wins, he'll be able to withstand this. If he doesn't win, he won't. That's just how it goes.
I appreciate all of Janelle's commentary today. Janelle checking in from Saskatoon, and you know her. She says, I had to stop watching Chicklets, and I can't believe he's on Hockey Night in Canada. I'm with you. And by the way, I don't have a problem with Biz. I'm not sitting here complaining about him. What I'm saying is I can't believe the NHL and national networks are endorsing the behavior. And Janelle also says Bill Belichick won 3 Super Bowls before at that time. Before he stormed off. Oh, if you win enough, then you can be a jerk. I just wondered who was writing the rules on this. That's all. Okay. Jay in Winnipeg regarding this Chad Kelly stuff goes, something's ain't right about that boy. No, we've all established that. Look him up. And that's why I'm on the Chad Kelly train. Woo, woo, because I love a redemption story. The comeback's greater than the setback, but that's also what's fantastic about sports is that you can't see these things coming. It was a wonderful year, a fantastic script being written, 16-2. And all of a sudden, they crapped the bed. He crapped the bed. This wasn't supposed to happen. Redemption stories don't go this way. So I guess my point is, are you people all going to remember Chad Kelly for that? Is Bill Belichick remembered for storming off the field at the Super Bowl after losing and not shaking hands? Or that former WHL coach who's now a general manager in the NHL, is he remembered? Like, history will remember you for different things. And if Chad Kelly wins a Grey Cup next year and certainly gets back to the NFL, who knows whether he will or not, I don't know if we'll ever really remember. Some will, but I won't. Okay, the comments are going nuts, and I appreciate that. But I want to jump into some other things, and not the least of which is the Grey Cup itself. We talked about the State of the League address for those that have just logged in and have just tuned in. Randy Ambrosie, among other things, 2 of the highlights coming out from his State of the League address this morning is that the CFL's Saturday playoff games are here to stay. I think we all approve of that. The poll last week says that you do. And 2, they're going back to a balanced schedule, so every team will play every other team at least once in their own stadium and once on the road. So we applaud that. There will be more. That's all we have time for today. Or right now. We covered it way back at the start of the show. And then the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 7.5-point favorites for the game in the 110th Grey Cup on Saturday, and that's our poll question today. Our poll is brought to you by Key Yorkton Kia Daily. Unleash the future, the Kia EV6 GT at Key Yorkton Kia, where performance and innovation go hand in hand. Go to keyyorktonkia.com or call 306-783-2772 for more information. The 23 Kia EV6 GT, movement that inspires. Who will win the 110th Grey Cup? I'm going to say the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They're favored by 7.5, and if anybody's been paying attention, I've been picking the other team that's played Cody Fajardo each of the last 2 weeks. And it's worked. So I'm going to say I picked Hamilton, and then I picked Toronto. So now I'm picking Winnipeg to beat Cody and Les Alouettes. That's my vote, Winnipeg. How about you, Moose?
I'm going to go with Winnipeg. Part partly because I think they're the better football team, top to bottom. Nothing against the Alouettes. I think they got a great story. Cody and Jason Moss. That defense is really good in Montreal. What they did to Chad Kelly. But I'm going to go with Winnipeg. The other thing I think too, when you look back on history, and Zach Collaros getting to 4 Grey Cups in a row, you want to look back on this and say, he won 3 of them, right? If he goes in winning 2 of them, the story's not quite as great, So I think Zach and that group and Mike O'Shea, they're going to want to go and win 3 of these 4 Grey Cups and really cement their place in CFL history as a modern-day dynasty.
Thank you. By the way, from the text line for Sober Carpenter, 902-518-3033, this is, for now, more interesting than the game himself, the Chad Kelly talk. Mark Knight's watching in Burlington, Ontario on Game Plus television, and he said he was very embarrassed and wanted to disappear. Sure. Are you defending him or what? Like, I'm not defending Chad Kelly either, by the way. I'm not really sure what I'm saying here. I just like the kid. Let's put ourselves in his shoes for a second. And maybe that's what you're doing, Mark. Randy from Regina texting in, 902 Sober Carpenter line. He says, Tiger Williams in the NHL would never shake hands at the end of the playoff round. Same as Kelly and the Patriots coach. I don't think Tiger spends a lot of time thinking about it. I'll guarantee you he doesn't. Kirk in Toronto. Hi, Rod. The big question is, will Chad Kelly recover from this epic collapse? He had issues in the NFL. That's the question for Chad Kelly. I hope he's getting the proper support. Knowing those Argos people, by the way, they'll be providing the appropriate support for Chad Kelly, for sure. Has anybody checked on him? I'm sure they have. Not our job, but I'm sure they have. Rick Sawatsky writes in and says, Calvillo did the same thing years ago when he lost in the Eastern Final. Hasn't affected his legacy. Yeah, well, Chad Kelly hadn't won yet. That's in the rules. We found out. If you've won before, then you can storm off the field and not shake hands. That's in the code. Bill in Toronto watching on Game Plus says, hey, Rod, it's Bill from Toronto. Regarding Chad Kelly, he did stop to sign autographs before going into the dressing room. Well, then it's okay. What a wonderful, hey, fascinating topic, eh? Do you have the sports talk lined up and ready to go?
Yeah, he's looks like, well, he's not lined up and ready to go, but he's waiting to come in.
Okay, well, I can smell a good storyline like a fart in the car. And that's what we got today. I knew it would be popular. We'll be right back with the sports doctor, his take on this and many other things. When we return, it's our Grey Cup coverage, and we are live on the Game Plus television network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Welcome back, everybody, on a rainy day here in South Florida, but that has not stopped the leaf blowers from being out and about. You might hear those. But we're very excited to bring in our next guest. Let's bring him in, the sports doctor, Dave Pedersen. He's not at Grey Cup yet, but he's on his way. Bombers aficionado, Vikings aficionado, and Winnipeg Jets aficionado. And we Moose. Sports doc, we have somebody that's written in that thinks you're an actual doctor. Can you set them? They have a medical question here. Can we set them straight on? You do not have a PhD, correct?
No, I'm not allowed to anywhere near pediatrician offices or anything like that. But no, I am not. I got that nickname. I was the Dr. Football in another life, as I used to host a Monday night football and Thursday night football party, and then it just kind of grew into the sports doctor.
It's fantastic. But for David in Winnipeg, who has the medical question for you, I'll answer. I have more qualifications than Dave to answer your particular question. So we'll come back. I don't even want to get into the Chad Kelly stuff with you. I want to talk about the Bombers because we don't have a ton of time here. 7.5 favorites going into the game. They're going to cover? What do you think, Doc?
I absolutely believe so. We need to talk to Chad about Chad Kelly a little bit because, you know, everybody is talking about now they're going to go for Montreal. They're the underdogs. Everybody loves an underdog. Well, I don't remember anybody going for Montreal last week with Chad Kelly, especially the Toronto sports media and most of the football writers. Everybody was going for Toronto. It's the greatest thing, the greatest football team of all time. You know, nobody really wants underdogs to win. The three bums they used to put in the ring with Andre the Giant in a squash match, they never wanted the three bums to win. Barry Horowitz versus Bret Hart. Nobody wanted Barry Horowitz to win. They wanted Bret the Hitman Hart to win. You know who wants winners not to win? Losers, right? So if you're not going for the dynasty, you're not going for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You remember when Tom Brady was going for his fifth Super Bowl ring, sixth Super Bowl ring. Everybody was jumping on the Tom Brady bandwagon. So why aren't we on the Zach Collaros bandwagon right now? 4 Grey Cup rings, 6 Grey Cup rings, 10 Grey Cup rings. We want the guy that we keep winning. Keep winning.
Now, I want the first as a starter for Cody Fajardo. That won't surprise you where my rooting interest lies, but I love what you're saying, and I get where you're coming from on that. But are you? I see this from Bomber fans online, social media. I wonder if you're the same. You're seeing a lot of hate for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers across the country. How are you feeling about that?
And that's the thing I don't like. Think about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Who's some of the nicest men that ever played football? Zach Collaros. Be a nice man. Mike O'Shea. nice man now that he's a coach. He was pretty ferocious on the field. Guys like Willie Jefferson, Adam Bighill, they're nice men. They're tremendous competitors on the football field, but they're not Ray Lewis type caliber character guys, right? These are nice men. This is a nice team. This is a nice story. A team that basically came out of the ashes, out of the Joe Mack era. Wade Miller and Kyle Walters and Mike O'Shea built these guys back up. This is a nice football team. I don't get the hate at all. It's strange to think. And I know it's a lot of social media driven, and both sides of every CFL team have the dark side with some of the fans on social media, because that's just a cesspool of life. But in terms of the actual gentlemen that play the game, the product on the field, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are an exemplary football team.
Nice try, Dave.
They are.
They're not. They're not nice. They're certainly not nice on game day, but that's fine.
That's on the field, Rod. Off the field, gentlemen. Nice. You know what I mean? They're not. It's not the Swaggerville era with the videos and rolling into bars and stuff. And these are focused athletes that want to win championships.
Well, here's one. I asked Mike O'Shea for a photo together one time, and he said no. So I'm hanging on to that. So, anyways, what's your Grey Cup schedule like? What's it going to look like for you?
We roll in on Thursday into Hamilton. There's no official touchdown Manitoba this year. The Bombers have a room, Bomber House, like the other rooms there. We are going to go to the CFL alumni luncheon on Friday, which is always a great time. And of course, we will go to the Spirit of Edmonton breakfast, which usually sets the pace for the rest of Saturday. And we're just going to kind of mill around town until game time on Sunday. I think its kickoff is around 6:00 Eastern. So it's really just Grey Cup is such a great time to see people you kind of see only once a year. People fly in from all over different parts of the country. And like I said, you see family, you see friends, you see people you haven't seen, you see members of the media, and you see, players even wandering around from other teams, especially the CFL Player Awards are kind of wonky this year being in Niagara Falls. So we're not going to see a lot of those guys celebrating after being at 45 minutes to an hour away. But it's just going to be Hamilton is similar in my mind to Grey Cups in Winnipeg and Regina, that the whole town is going to be football focused. It's not like getting lost in town like you get lost in Montreal or Toronto and Vancouver. It's going to be football focused.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're going to spend Saturday recovering and then getting ready for the big match on Sunday featuring your Big Blue against Montreal.
And there's a Grey Cup parade. I understand there's a Grey Cup parade. I'm going to go to the Grey Cup parade after the Spirit of Edmonton breakfast.
Yeah, they've combined it with a Santa Claus parade, I believe is what they did. Very smart of them. Right. And one thing about the CFL, 9 teams, been around for 110 years. We've never had a Winnipeg-Montreal matchup before. So that's awesome. Your thoughts on the actual matchup, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Montreal has that, starting in the 80s, that weird history, the Concords and then folding and then the rebirth just before the rebirth, as they were the Baltimore Football Club and the Baltimore Stallions, and then the rebirth going into Montreal. So, it once was a very proud franchise, especially in the 60s, and a very successful franchise in the 70s, and a lot of great cups. And then, with the Anthony Calvillo area, a very good team. And those times that, a lot of Grey Cups and a lot of Grey Cup appearances. So, yeah, it's and Winnipeg's done that thing in the 80s, because of Montreal bouncing around from the East and the West and the Ottawa folding and bouncing around. And yeah, it's very strange since the Winnipeg Football Club has been around since 1930, and the Montreal Alouettes have never faced each other. It's very strange. And you don't have that even when Winnipeg was in the Eastern Conference and Montreal was around, you didn't have that fierce rivalry really, because Montreal kind of disappeared all the time and came back and disappeared. So.
Yeah, well, I think that's some of it. And they've been in the same division for a lot of years, like not half of the Blue Bombers' existence, but right, a lot of years they were in the same division. So it was never going to happen. Jason in Red Deer says, it's not hate, Sports Doctor. We just don't want them to win anymore. It's getting old. From Mahi, watching in Vancouver, says, the sports homer. Does that hurt your feelings, Doc?
Not at all. Like I said, you know who doesn't like winners? Losers.
I love it. From Robin and Prince Albert says, hey, Sports Doc, if the Bombers had a wrestling theme, what would they use?
It would have to be the Bret Hitman Hart theme. He was the best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be. He was the excellence of execution. And that's what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are.
Ooh, how about that? To be honest, there was a lot of people picking BC to win the West Final, as you know, and they thought that the Bombers' arrogance was going to trip them up.
Where's this arrogance? Where was this arrogance? 14-4. Where was the arrogance? I don't understand. I live in this town. I don't see that. You see, you just see a good football team, and everybody celebrates after touchdowns and quarterback sacks. And you didn't see excessive celebrations like, in the eras before. And yeah, we might get painted with that 2011 Swaggerville brush from before, but this is a much different football team. It's a much focused football team on winning.
Kevin, the medium in Calgary, writes in and says, it isn't the team we hate, it's the fans, the Smurf Mafia, most hated fan base in the CFL. But you love that, right, Dave? You love that.
Yeah. Again, who doesn't like winners? What's the answer?
Losers.
Right.
Hey, I get it. And hey, I love our massive audience in Winnipeg. What did you think? I assume you saw this summer that for a period of time, Winnipeg was our #1 city for viewership. It doesn't surprise me at all, but what did you think when you heard that?
Well, I'm super happy because it popped up on my, now it's Rogers cable. I think it was still Shaw cable then. It came up on there. And I know that, even before that we trended because, we are a football focused city. And this is particularly in the summertime, it's a football focused show. You spread so many different wings and cover so many different genres. You've always had the fan base here, Rod.
Well, you're a huge part of it, man. I appreciate it so much. So you have fun this week, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Rod. And maybe we'll hook up. Maybe come to the Vancouver Grey Cup. I know that the skin's a little softer now. It's a little softer being in the lovely weather of Florida. And Vancouver should be okay.
Yeah, I'll buy a fur coat, man. And you know that I will. Travel safe. My best to Karen.
Thanks. I will. Thank you.
The sports doctor, Dave Pedersen. John writes in, says, Winnipeg loves Rod. Thank you, John. Rod loves Winnipeg, and that is a fact. Dave's a big reason for that. He took me to all the best places, especially the Pony Corral. We'll be right back with a sports update and a whole lot more. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Bring it in, everybody. Final segment of hour one. It's going by real fast. I don't check Twitter during the interviews, but Fake Gainer has written in and says, great show and love that you have Guy Fieri on as a guest. Can Mr. Fieri give his advice for what to eat during the Grey Cup this Sunday? Thanks. Oh, and I just saw it. And now the sports doctor's gone. But I tell you this, I ate at a restaurant in the Keys, Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, that was Guy Fieri approved. Triple D, featured on Triple D. Herbie's. Look it up. Oh, my God. Nashville hot chicken on a bed of mashed potatoes. My knees got weak. That Guy Fieri knows his stuff. I'll get to more of your comments probably next hour. It's hammering rain here today, too, by the way. Thank God I got a top on the Jeep. The Buffalo Bills fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey today, with the Josh Allen-led attack stagnating over a 7-week stretch and the 3-time defending AFC East champions falling further out of the playoff picture. The move came a day after a 24-22 loss to the Denver Broncos in an outing where Allen committed 3 of Buffalo's 4 turnovers, and the offense was held under 26 points for a 6th straight game. Second-year quarterbacks coach Joe Brady takes over as interim coordinator. The Calgary Flames, which I have not forgotten. Darren, please remind me to bring up the Flames next hour, and we will, as we turn our attention to tonight's games. They battle the Montreal Canadiens in an all-Canadian NHL battle at the Bell Center. The Flames enter the matchup on a 2-game losing streak, while the Canadians are coming off a 5-2 loss to the Vancouver Canucks on Sunday. Elsewhere, the Winnipeg Jets entertain the New Jersey Devils. As mentioned, Grey Cup week is underway in Hamilton as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Montreal Alouettes are in Steeltown ahead of Sunday's big game. The trophy itself arrived on Monday aboard the Canadian Navy ship HMCS Harry DeWolf. Both teams will take part in Media Day today, with the Bombers practicing at Tim Hortons Field later this afternoon. The Toronto Raptors have the night off and a day to prepare for Wednesday's visit from the Milwaukee Bucks. The Raptors pulled out a 111-107 come-from-behind win over the Washington Wizards Monday night. Sports Update is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And also in Landmark Cinemas now, 5 Nights at Freddy's. Can you survive 5 nights? The terrifying game phenomenon becomes a blood-chilling cinematic event as producer Blumhouse brings 5 Nights at Freddy's to the big screen. In theaters now, 5 Nights at Freddy's, Landmark Cinemas. You see, I'm checking the sky. It's one of those days that Darren and I were saying off air a while back. We haven't had a horrendous storm like last summer, or was it 2 summers ago here, where I almost got electrocuted multiple times. But holy, Something about the rain here in Florida. It comes sideways. So it's coming into the lanai, but I seem to be okay. Or as I like to call it, the line A. Couple quick text messages here regarding Paul Bissonnette on Hockey Night in Canada. Blair in Calgary writes in and says, regarding Biz on CBC, it's called Personality. Ron and the rest of them have their love in weekly, and they suck. Signed, Blair in Calgary. Just remind me, Moose, we'll come back on that when we crack the hour 2 on the talent on Hockey Night in Canada. Brian in Beausejour, Manitoba says, good day, Rod Squad. Rod and Moose, in your humble opinion, who makes a better hire for the head coach and GM jobs in said leagues? A, players who have played in said leagues for many years, or B, non-players who have been in and around in said leagues for many years? I'll hang up and listen. Well, we got lots to talk about when we come back in hour 2 after this brief pause here on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show, hour 2 of episode number 1120. of your favorite daytime sports talk show. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio down there in Atlanta. Shout out Ryan O'Radio. I was checking him out today. 99.1 on your FM dial, Metro Atlanta. Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube Live. I'm in a rainy South Florida. And Darren Moose DuPont is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I promised everybody, Moose, in hour one that we were going to have fun right off the top. And we've been doing that. Dag nabbit, what did I say? It's nice when things come together.
Yes.
And the breaking news today, two things. We got hockey to get to for sure, We got NFL and CFL news. The Buffalo Bills fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey today. We had heard that he was on the hot seat. It happened today following their implosion on Monday Night Football 24-22 to the Denver Broncos, who have now won 3 in a row. And the commissioner of the Canadian Football League held his State of the League address this morning in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And among the items coming out of those, which CFL fans hang on every word of these, it's a news conference is what it is. I've been to 21 of them. He said that the CFL Saturday playoff games are here to stay, and also that they're going back to a balanced schedule for every team from each conference will play the other team at least twice, home and away, which we're all begging for. Why they went away from it, I don't know. I tried my best not to criticize them for it because we don't know the answer for all these things. But for those that were upset about it, made a lot of noise about it, you win. And we got a lot of audience participation here. And also, themes. Darren, themes. I know you're thinking about the questions that we have from the viewers. We'll answer those in a second. Themes today, the Edmonton Oilers got a win for Chris Knobloch in his NHL coaching debut, 4-1 over the Islanders last night, who they've lost 5 in a row. The Montreal Canadiens and Calgary Flames meet tonight. I don't care. What do we got? How many games? 3, 6, 9 games in the NHL, including the Florida Panthers at San Jose, Tampa Bay Lightning at St. Louis. When it's an all-Canadian matchup, I don't care who it is. Ottawa, Vancouver is fine for me. Winnipeg, Calgary's great. Montreal, if it's all Canadian, that's the game of the night for me. Do you still feel that buzz, that vibe in an all-Canadian matchup?
A little bit, I do. Some matchups more than others, but yeah, I think there's always a little bit of extra something on the line when it's an all-Canadian matchup, for sure. I'm with you.
So we're excited about that. And guess I can't let this go. I don't know where Serena is. I think she's out for a walk, but this is how big of an Oilers fan she is. And I don't know if you are this big with the Leafs. I see you have your Jets jacket on today. They've got New Jersey there tonight. She checked the score, sat on the side of the bed, checked the score of the Oilers game last night, and went, oh, thank God. That was a direct quote. And I'm thinking, God bless you for loving your team that much and that you would be that impacted by whether your team won or lost. Because I'm just not. And I'm not sure why that is with any team. I'm not sure why. Are you like that with the Leafs? Like if they win, or you're like, oh, thank God. The next day, if you check the score?
Yeah, to an extent, a little bit. I'm not quite the same as that, where it's like, oh, thank God. But I'm like, okay, nice. They won. That's good. Or if they lose and I'm not watching the game, I'm like, that's too bad. I wonder what happened that they lost. And I go check the highlights. But I'm not, it doesn't make or break my day. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. As you see and have seen over the last 1,120 shows, very, very few things affect me or get me rattled. And I'm happy about that. They used to, but they don't anymore. And that reminds me, I knew that it would be on this Grey Cup week, that it would be a pretty big hot button topic to talk about Toronto Argonauts quarterback Chad Kelly not shaking hands on the field after their loss in one of the biggest CFL playoff upsets in history. I didn't think it would be this big of a topic. I didn't, Darren. I didn't think it would be this big of a hot button lightning rod issue. Why do you think people are so hot and bothered about this? And by the way, for the uninitiated, my thing is I just let people be themselves, and history will judge you. I could not feel stronger about that. We talked about Bill Belichick storming off the field after the Super Bowl when his unbeaten Patriots lost for the first time all year. Nobody had not that I saw anybody had a major problem with that. I've talked about that. Why can't we talk about it? Kelly McCrimmon, Vegas Golden Knights, when he was coaching Brandon, wouldn't shake hands with the Tigers coach after a series. Didn't seem to hurt him. So why do we have such a problem that Chad Kelly's doing it? I don't really understand. You had some very eloquent points on this last hour, and your actions in the heat of the moment, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we got to be very careful about those things. Some will get fried for it, others won't. You and I have not come up with the answer as to why some guys, why this sticks to them and others it doesn't. I don't know the answer to that.
Couple things for me on that.
Yeah.
As you said, history will dictate. And you know what? History will be the judge, the jury, and the executioner on it. And history is more than one moment. So for me, it's more about what happens in the other moments. Because everybody can have a moment of weakness or a moment of, I'm mad and I'm not going to consider anything else than being mad and getting out of here, right? So you can understand whether you agree or don't agree. You can at least understand where he's coming from. Now, if he goes on to win, he'll be judged as a winner. If he goes on to lose, this might be part of that. The other thing is he a good person or not a good person? What does he say afterwards when people ask him about walking off the field and not shaking hands, right? He put out a statement on social talking about how he vowed to be better. All these signs to me point to Chad Kelly's a good person, but also a fierce competitor who's going to battle back. So that's, for me, the history that's going to judge him is what type of human being are you? And is this a moment of weakness? Or was this revealing your true character? For some guys, these moments of weakness are a reveal of their true character. They've been hiding it, right? And it's a reveal of who they really are. For others, it's simply a moment of weakness. And it doesn't, reveal who they are. And I don't think that's the case with Chad Kelly. I think he's a good person, but a fierce competitor, and he'll be fine long term.
I love what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but I love that you have an opinion on it, because what I do, and I love the audience, they just keep coming with the good stuff. Jeff the Stamps fan says it speaks to Kelly's character and should be a concern for the Argos. We'll see, because we have a problem when anyone does it. Yeah, fair, but with those guys that I named earlier that did it, it didn't affect their career. So will it affect Chad Kelly's? I don't know. The history will show that. Wayne in Victoria, BC, even before Chad Kelly didn't shake hands after the game, I wasn't a fan of his. Janelle says, where's Janelle? She was, the CFL fans as a whole have not taken to him. And this kind of vindicates their feelings. Bomber Boy in Calgary says, after every interception, Chad Kelly looked like someone crapped in his pants. It was probably one of the worst moments of his life, and it happened on national television. And I'm a guy that would know a little bit about something happening on regional television affecting their life. So I guess, why do you think I'm on Chad Kelly's side on this? You all want to judge him by what you see on a two-dimensional screen for 3 hours out of a week. Do you understand that that person isn't necessarily what you see on the screen? I'm not sure how many hours there are out of it. It's like 271 hours or something. I can't remember. I'm bad at math. 24 times 7, 210 something. Bad at math. We've established that. You all want to judge him based on what you saw, is my point, and I won't. And getting too deep. Deeper than I want to get, Darren, because I spent years in recovery being told to get over things. So I have, and then I look back at nobody else can. Okay, suit you. I'm out. From the Puck and Pigskin podcast in Red Deer, he says, athletes break unwritten rules all the time in the heat of the moment. when emotions are flaring. Yeah, but that's my point. That's when you're judged. And people will never forget. So I guess maybe what I'm saying here, Darren, is that I don't necessarily have a problem with what Chad Kelly did, but I'm not speaking for everybody. Do you have a problem with what he did?
No, I think if this becomes, something that's more than just a one-off, yeah, I might question it. One time, first time that I've really heard about it, I don't have a problem. On the surface, you never want to see somebody not shake hands. But if he stopped to sign autographs, at least on his way out, he had some clarity to say, you know what, I can be better than just running into the locker room right away. I'll stop and do this. But no, it's no issue yet until it becomes a problem. It's not a problem yet.
I'm trying. I will have to limit this to one or maybe two comments per viewer, but I appreciate what Janelle's saying, and we're not going to see the same side of this, Janelle, and it's 1:11 Eastern. That's why I rang the bell. 11:11 Mountain. She said, why is it that no NFL team wants him? Because he's a problem, and I'm not seeing a wind of change in him. It's what I talked about an hour ago. It's the redemption story. Some of us have had problems in our life. I'm a champion of change. I'm cheering for the guy. And he didn't help himself on Saturday, but I'm not going to judge him based on this incident when guys like Bill Belichick and Kelly McCrimmon did the same thing. Am I speaking another language? Why can they do it, but he can't? Done. Which reminds me, okay, just a quick check of the poll question. It's brought to you daily by the Kia Auto Group. The all-new 2024 Kia Sportage reimagines innovation in motion. It pushes the boundaries of urban SUV design and technology with refinement and purpose. Go to KeyYorktonKia.com for more information. The 2024 Kia Sportage, movement that inspires. Poll question is, who do you think will win the 110th Grey Cup? 56% of you saying the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and both Darren and I have voted for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. For the hockey people that have shown up today, we've had a few people that have wanted to address the Oilers hiring of Chris Knobloch. Bob McCulloch in Borden, Manitoba writes in and says, why are the Oilers hiring a former player as a coach again? They've gone down that road many times before with coaches and managers with zero success. Loved Paul Coffey as a player, but ... Great question, and thank you for the change of topic, Bob. What's he won? And by the way, when he said, thank God you pointed out Coffey, because I thought you were talking about Chris Knobloch. He's saying, why are they bringing back one of their former greats here? Because, in my opinion, they've tried everything. They've tried everything. They've tried old coaches, Pat Quinn. They've tried young coaches, Jay Woodcroft. They've tried successful coaches, Dave Tippett. Nothing's worked. Nothing. So maybe let's try Paul Coffey. So when we're in a game or when we're at practice and he's telling you what to do, you look up in the rafters and see his name there. That does mean a lot to players. Old players, young players. Darren, that's always meant something to players, that you played and that you had success. So this is a new way of trying it. Let's not forget Craig McTavish got into the Stanley Cup final game 7. Let's not forget that. And Paul Coffey, I know him personally. I think he can get it done. I think Coff can save the day. Why didn't they make him head coach? Probably didn't want that much responsibility. But it's interesting you say that, Bob, with the question in, Darren, because I tweeted that today. This is probably the most important hire they made. Was the most important move they did was bringing in Coff. I think it's going to work. Does that answer your question, Bob? What do you think, Moose?
I think it's great. And you're right. Like when you talk to players or, in the organization and on the ice, it's very easy to validate what you're saying. Yeah, when you've done it before, when you've won cups, when your name's in the rafters, when, you have that respect level. Now, people who didn't play the game can get that respect level and have the player's ear for sure. But when things start going tough and going the wrong way, and you start getting a little dissension in the room and you're not on the same page, and a player snaps and says, well, have you ever played the game, Teven? No, right? And Coffee can be there and be like, yeah, I did. Better than you. Oh. So, maybe I know what I'm talking about. And you won't get the same questions. I think it adds a lot for sure. And you're right. Like, go back to the best days. I shouldn't say the best days of the Oilers, because 06, that era wasn't necessarily the best days, but because they were the 8th seed, I think, but they made it to the Cup final, right? McTavish was Lowe the GM right at the time, I believe. So that former players, right, that got them there, and now they're maybe going to go down that road again. I don't hate it.
Flames trying the same thing, and we haven't even got to them yet. We'll do that right after the break. But Wayne in BC says, my dislike of Chad Kelly is partly because of the media pushing him on us fans. That's not his fault. That's the main problem that Serena has with Connor Bedard, the media pushing him on. That's not Connor's fault either. Why do you do? It's not. Whatever. Mark in Melfort, the beekeeper, says, Rod, maybe you should use sign language to explain to people, as they don't understand English. I have a very close friend that's a sign language gal, and I might have to bring her in out of the bullpen. Okay. I told you it'd be a spicy one today. Reg, what'd you say to him? We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
All right, welcome back, everybody. RP Show continues. No. Now we're live. Thanks, Moose. Yeah, we're real slick today. The RP Show continues. You may notice a slightly different look. We've got a new production partner today. It's DuPont Media. And yeah, I like it. It's going great. Yeah. Welcome on inside episode number 1120 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. We are on television, believe it or not, Game Plus. And the sports doctor was saying last hour, we popped up on his television in Winnipeg, his Shaw Rogers Cable Channel 230. Millions more people were infecting their minds. And down there in Atlanta, WQEE, Metro Atlanta on 99.1 FM. Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube Live. And here we go. Let's bring Moose back in if we can. I can't totally see what's going on back there, but that's okay. Themes today. Oilers winning last night. Okay, I'm going to get to the Flames thing now.
Flames? Wait, Flames?
Yeah.
And Hockey Night in Canada commentators.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad that you brought that up. Actually, I'll do the Hockey Night in Canada thing first, and then the Flames to keep the Calgary people hanging. And the Grey Cup thing for those that have just tuned in. Again, CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie, among other things, but two key points coming out of his annual State of the League address this morning. The league is going back to a balanced schedule, meaning every CFL fan will see the opposition teams at least once in their own stadium. That hasn't happened for a few years now. They're excited about that. And Saturday CFL games are here to stay. Florida Panthers are at San Jose tonight, going after their fifth straight win, by the way. The Tampa Bay Lightning are at St. Louis. And yeah, Flames at Hams, but I'm not quite there yet on the Flames thing. The guy said earlier that Biz was on Hockey Night in Canada because he's entertaining. Well, he was only there once, one night, filling in for Kevin Bieksa. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's not like he's a permanent fixture. But I was on a Panthers post-game show the other night, Darren. I'm sure you saw that I was on it. It's called Locked On Panthers, and they wanted me to break down the Panthers win at Washington. I said, I can do that. I watched the whole game. And the host, Armando Velez, said, what'd you think about Biz and and all the things he was doing in between periods on the NHL on TNT? And I said, NHL on TNT. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't answer that because I don't watch the intermissions. And he looked at me like I had just landed from Mars. And I had the sound down. I had it on in the house, but I was doing things on my phone and stuff. And Biz was going and acting really goofy. I'm like, I don't want this. So I didn't watch it. So again, the guy here, where is he? Blair in Calgary says they brought on Biz on Hockey Night in Canada because he's entertaining. Acting like an idiot is not entertaining to me. But that's just me. Like I said it again. What I tell you last week when the Columbus Blue Jackets were in town, John Davidson, all 6'5" of them, or 6'4" for sure, walking through the press box at Sunrise, I was like, there goes JD. Remember him? Al Strachan, satellite hot stove. Here's what's going on in the NHL, folks. This is what you missed since last Saturday. Yeah, that's me hanging on that. Not guys acting like court jesters. So I don't watch it, Darren. I'm not interested in what they're putting out there right now. And I like him. I said it a million times. So you? Where are you on the panels?
I love the satellite hot stove. Those guys were great. And did Friedman get his start really on the hot stove? Was that where he started?
He got his start at the Score with me.
Yeah, for sure. But Hockey Night in Canada, I think he started coming on the the satellite hot stove. But yeah, John Davidson and Al Strachan and those guys and the writers. That was cool. The one thing that's working, like Biz has a lot of things going on that's working for him. One is he's authentic, he has personality, and when he does something, or if you even just said, did you see the panelist on the NHL intermission that did this or said that? You would know that it's Biz, right? And so personality is important. When we're all the same, we lose our value, right? Of being authentic and being unique. The other side of it is if I'm producing those shows and I put Biz on and you hate it and it doesn't do anything for you, you're sitting there waiting for the other guys, for Gretzky to talk, or for the, John Davidson, if he's on a panel, or Mark Messier, or guys that you admire. So, it creates more value. And if I'm a Biz guy and I hate the stuffy hockey talk, every time those guys talk, I'm waiting for Biz to talk, and it makes it more impactful.
Oh, yeah.
We got to have a little bit of everything. It's what makes the world great. And too many times you want to create 4 guys that are all the same, that check all the boxes. It becomes really boring. Just like your TV, I go back to your show, Seinfeld. You talk about that show all the time. If all those characters were the same, what a boring show that would be. You got to love some and hate some, and that's what makes it great.
From Reg Dunlop, he says, if Biz talked about immigrants, poppies, or foreign hockey players, he'd be canceled. Okay, we're daytime. I'm wondering, so he can talk about the things that he does and not get canceled? I can't even say the medical proper terms for the things that he does. I wouldn't feel comfortable even saying it on the air. But Graves gets canceled and he does. Like feigning masturbation. Can I say that? On his social media accounts. That's fine. But we can't call out Swedish hockey players. This is where we're at. Gotcha.
Well, I compared a little bit to Steve-O, who you met in Calgary, right? The things
From Jackass.
The things that they did, and he got away with. Again, to an extent.
He's not on Hockey Night in Canada, Darren.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
But being welcomed in to speak in front of thousands and thousands of people, and be welcomed into these major venues to, do the show live and those types of things. Pretty unique. Some guys just have an ability to pull that off.
Sure. From Jason in Red Deer, he says, this episode reminds me of the Seinfeld episode with Serenity Now. I want to make it clear that I'm not dumping on Biz because, again, he's been on this show. He's a good guy. What I'm saying is, unless he wants to get serious about hockey, because when Gretzky comes on, this whole house shuts down. We want to hear what Wayne has to say. Or Jamie McCowan, when we were in Calgary, he goes, remember back in the day, he goes, we with the Flames, we would be out on the road or in the bar after a game. And when Gretzky or Cherry came on Hockey Night in Canada, the whole bar shut up and they turn the sound up. I think we were all in those bars that everybody shut up when Don Cherry come on for 5 minutes a week and they turned the sound up. Is anybody doing that for Paul Bissonnette now? The answer's, how about no? So whatever. But we also saw the ratings went up. That was a popular thing back in the day. The ratings went up for Coach's Corner on Hockey Night in Canada. Now that crap doesn't matter anymore. And so John Ohm, boom, says, I agree, Rod. It's total BS what some people can get away with. Wowzers. Interesting theme. Some people can get away with not shaking hands after games, and other people get burned at the cross. Two different rules. Yeah. Flames. Thanks for reminding me. Not. It's the interesting part of where we're at in society. And by the way, Chris Walby's coming up. Don't tell him I screwed his name up. Chris Walby. I know who he is. We did an event together in Assiniboia. Is coming up in the next segment. He didn't see that, did he, Moose? You'd let me know. I'm afraid of the man. One of the biggest human beings I've ever been around in my life. But I want your take on this just as much. We have about 5 minutes to get through it. On the Flames. I dabbled in this a little bit late last week. The Flames win a couple games, and you don't hear a peep out of the Calgary media, which is dwindling from what it was. I've spent 2 years there. I feel fully comfortable speaking on the Calgary media. And I lived there in 1990, 91 going to college. It's two different worlds from a media standpoint. Glare on the Flames has not changed, but the way that the team's covered has. Fair? and who the influential people are. Interesting, Eric Francis was really on top then, and he still is. Eric Francis, not part of this discussion. Proper respect for him there. He didn't really get into his opinion. He just says what's really going on, and I like that about Eric Francis. But Darren, Flames lose in a shootout in Toronto, and then they go into Ottawa and get mollywopped the next night, and all of a sudden, Zadorov wants out. And I see the guys on the Barn Burner podcast saying, what's the deal? Toffoli wanted out. Tkachuk wanted out. Gaudreau wanted out. Now Zadorov wants out. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you guys weren't talking about this last week after you'd won 2. But now you've lost 2, and we got a horrible culture, and we need to rebuild. We need to get rid of everybody, and everything sucks here. And I'm like, wait, are you just sitting and waiting for the team to lose to dump on them? Which, by the way, Rhett Warner is a Rider fan. He's from Frontier, Saskatchewan. He's a great guy. But Darren, is this easy fruit to pick? Do you really not know what the problem is? Because I spent not even nearly as much time as them in that town, and I know what the problem is. Or what? I'm just saying, to sit and talk about what's the root of the problem in November, now's not the time. We're a quarter of the way into the season. Now's not the time. What do you think about that narrative? Because it irks me.
I know. It's tough. Like, you can't spend your time, wondering about that now. This needs to be fixed and addressed in the offseason.
Yes.
Trying to get to the root of the problem and figure out what's going on. All you can do right now during the year is read and react. And unfortunately, if a guy doesn't want to be there, then you got to find a way to get rid of him. Because what type of an asset in any organization, sports or otherwise, is somebody who doesn't want to be a part of it? If you don't want to be a part of it and you're checked out and you want to be moving, you want to be somewhere else, then the best thing to do is just be somewhere else and find the best resolution to the issue. Because making people be where they don't want to be, that doesn't work for anybody. So if Zadorov wants out, you got to find a way to just move on, because it's not working. I don't know how you repair that relationship when a guy doesn't want to be there, period.
Well, I don't know why I continually get sucked into this. Not this, but I read the comments on these posts, particularly Calgary, when people say, why don't the Flames want to, why do they want out? Why do guys not want to play here? And I see the comments are, it's the taxes. It's the taxes are too high. Same taxes as Edmonton, right? Nobody has higher taxes than Quebec. We don't hear about that being a problem with the Montreal Canadiens. You want to blame the taxes? Okay, then. We can't be friends. Oh, no. It's because our rank's old. Still can't be friends.
No.
What do you got?
Like, and I know we got to go to break, and Walby's waiting to log in here in the commercial break. But money in that situation is not what makes people unhappy in any situation. He's not sitting there being like, another 12% on taxes went out of my paycheck. He's not that upset. Now, when you're in free agency and you're sitting there being like, I could go to Florida and there's no tax, and this is what my contract would be worth, but an offer from Calgary is going to be this much, and you're weighing the dollars. Yeah, that could be a decision maker for sure. But it's not in the moment a job satisfaction thing. It's just not.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. Chris Walby in next. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network as we talk the 110th Grey Cup. WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902 518 3033. 902 3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
All right, welcome back, everybody, and a special treat for you on this RP show live on Game Plus Television and Key Radio, episode 1120. Yeah, multiple Grey Cup champion from Winnipeg, Chris Walby. Let's bring him in. But so many people are writing in about his time on the CFL, on CBC. Chris Walby, the outstanding color man with Mark Lee. His Bombers were in the Grey Cup. That's where we're going to start. But Bluto, welcome to the program. How excited are you about the Big Blue being back in for a fourth straight year?
Yeah, Rod, first off, it's a pleasure to be on the show again. I'll say this. I think the Bombers have a mission. They're there. I really hate to say this, but it's almost like I think Montreal's happy to be there, but the Bombers know they have to be there. They've got to, they want to correct what happened last time with that blocked field goal when they should have won a game against Toronto last year. So I think this is this is something they're on a mission. Not to say Montreal's not, but I think that I just got this feeling Montreal's just happy that they're in the big show. Sometimes I hate to say this, you blow your everything in the final game. For them, that upset against Toronto was remarkable. I mean, I wouldn't have put money on it. I know pre-show here, you talked to me, Rod, and you said that Dunnigan had called this. What an incredible pick. I mean, prediction, put it that way. But no, I'm excited for the Bombers. I'm excited for Coach O'Shea and the dynasty they've created. And, Kyle Walters, hopefully get that guy signed back up as a GM. All the way down, Wade Miller to players. They've created such a great atmosphere here that players take pay cuts to stay. And how many, you never see that. You don't see that in today's day and age, brother.
Saw it in the 90s with Aldag and the crew and Sass, but you don't see it today's day and age. No, you do not. And how did they do it? I mean, I didn't expect to go down this road with you, but it's not easy, man. It was 30 years of scorched earth in Winnipeg. How did they flip it to 4 straight Grey Cup appearances? That's mind-blowing, Bluto.
You know, if you look back, Rod, at the beginning of the year, people were saying, hey, this team's gray in the tooth. They're old. This is one of those things. But I'm like, I really believe in the fine wine. Wine gets better as you let it age. So some of these guys, like, all the offensive linemen, I know Jamarcus is up there. Congrats to him on being the outstanding offensive lineman, knocking off the perennial Stanley Bryant. Patty Newfield, he's a former Rider. I mean, this guy is really coming to his own on Winnipeg. They got an old team, but like I said earlier, they've created such an atmosphere, with the professional chefs cooking every day. This is something I've never seen before. Like, in the old days, Cal Murphy, rest in peace, he would try and cut our per diem. I mean, we were lucky if we got spaghetti. Now these guys got a professional chef. They're worried about diets. There's no alcohol in the locker room, which is not a bad thing, I guess. But, it's a change thing. But I think it comes down to one thing, and that is they created a culture that players are willing to stay because they know they have a chance to go to the big show. You take a look at Rasheed Bailey. He took a pay cut to come back. You take a look at Kenny Lawler, who's, in my mind, one of the best, if not the best receiver in the CFL. He took a huge cut leaving Edmonton to come back to Winnipeg. They know what's going on here. And anytime you got number 8, Zach Collaros, behind the center, you have a great opportunity to win that football game.
I want to read you this comment from the audience, and you just take it for what it is, because I'm interested to hear what you're going to say.
Sure.
David in Winnipeg says, Bluto, I wish I could hear you do broadcasting for this Grey Cup game, seeing as you were a part of both teams, and this is the first time ever that they've met in the Grey Cup. Go Blue.
Isn't that something?
How would you address that?
Oh, that's crazy. Think about 1981, right? That's wow, a long time ago. Playing with guys like Billy White Shoes Johnson, Vince Ferragamo, and all those guys in 81, Junior Ayu, and then coming to Winnipeg and playing 16 years here. But to answer your question about doing, listen, I was so blessed. You talked about the fact I got to work with Mark Lee. I also got to work with the legend, Chris Cuthbert. It just was phenomenal. The stories I have back then, guys like Larry Mueller making sure that Chris Cuthbert had peanuts and tea in the press box all the time. It was just a great time, and I enjoyed it. Now, I still got a rant on that because I still think the TSN needs to wake up and dedicate a camera to the O-line and D-line. Let's show the pit. It drives me absolutely nuts to watch a game and they keep showing the catch and they keep throwing the throw. That's great. But how did that throw come about? How did that run from Oliveira come about? Show me the pit. Let me see where the knit and grit comes on. Because you know as well as I do, Ron, I'm not preaching anything you don't know. It's all one in the trenches. So show me the trenches. So that's what I would say. So TSN, if you're listening, I'm sure you are, put a camera dedicated on some of those guys. Look at Sean Lemon. Nobody even signs this cat. All of a sudden he comes back, makes a big play. Darnell Sankey wins in the XFL, comes back. Stud. You know what? Show me these guys. I want to see some of this stuff, man. I want to see the head knocking, and that's where it's all about, man. I understand the pretty boys get all the attention, but sometimes the fat guys need some love too.
You talk about the CBC. They really knew how to broadcast a football game.
They did a good job, buddy.
Yeah, and forgive me for forgetting. 07 Grey Cup was the last on CBC. Did you call that one?
Yes, I sure did. That was the one where Saskatchewan knocked us off, where I think, what's his name? Kevin Glenn broke his arm the game in the final, and then we lost to Saskatchewan. We threw, I think, 3 interceptions. I believe it was the head coach, Ryan Dinwiddie, who was our starting quarterback at that time. But that was the last game that CBC called. And, and again, I should not forget this man. The man that got me involved in the TV at all in the first place. You know him as well. The guy that used to call the track and field, Donnie the Legend Whitman. To work with Don, I mean, that's a blessing to work with Don Whitman, man. I'm telling you, he was such a great guy personally. And I made a joke of telling how I did my first ever game in Calgary. And I was doing the game and it's like you got to do the rehearsals. And so the rehearsals, Don Whitman says to me, okay, Chris, you talk about the quarterbacks. I'm going to talk about that D-line. All right, that sounds great, man. That's great. All right, we go 3, 2, 1 live. Chris, tell me about that D-line. He threw me under the bus. So after stumbling, I get it all out, and he goes, "That's what you got to do on TV. It's live, baby. You better be prepared for everything."
Get ready.
He taught me such a lesson. It was the best lesson I ever learned, and I really loved the guy. I mean, he was just so good to me, and one of the major factors for me even getting involved in any kind of a television career.
Well, you were used to thinking on your feet, obviously, but Don Whitman, original Saskatchewan guy,
Well, there you
and
go.
an absolute legend. I believe two towns lay claim to him. Yeah, I'm not sure which one it is. Rosthern and Herbert, they're in a fight over. Maybe he lived in both. I'm not sure. Kind of like Nathan Rourke between Oakville and Victoria. They both say that he's his.
Yeah.
Kevin in Calgary says best line ever. Fat boys need love too. Jay in Winnipeg says that was Dinwiddie's first game. Yeah, Greg. Imagine starting your first games at Grey Cup. Can you imagine?
Oh, no, to me, and I mean, obviously, I think what he's done in Toronto is phenomenal. He's almost taken a script out of Winnipeg. It seemed, obviously, and I know they got the GM there as Pinball Clemens, who obviously, it sprinkles down. I just think they've done a fantastic job there. It's so good to see one of the major markets, increasing their talent level and increasing their fan base. The BC, same thing. This is really good. This is good for the league having Montreal in the Grey Cup. I think, I probably would have picked Toronto and Winnipeg, and then again, I was really hesitating because when I saw that game that BC played against Calgary and the way that V. Adams played, I thought, my God, that's a great half of football. Now, I don't know Milt Stiegel. I love Milt, and I play with Milt, saying that's the best half of football he's ever seen. I don't agree with that, but I will say that was pretty damn close to the top. So, yeah, it's just I'm happy Montreal's in it. I like Jason Moss. It's really crazy, eh? It's the calm meeting the storm. Calm, Mike O'Shea doesn't get nuts, just keeps it on. And now storm, Jason Moss will rip your head off. I love it, man.
Yeah, I like the energy. I like the fire. That's my kind of guy. Hey, what do you guys got going on with Bonfire on Sunday? Assume you had pre and post game. What, got something going on?
Yeah, we got a pre and post. We've done every game this year with Darren Bombing and myself, and I think we're going to do a few hits. He's going out, I believe, either today or tomorrow to the Grey Cup in Hamilton. He'll be there all week. So we might be doing little 5-minute segments, and then we'll probably do a pregame, depending on what his schedule is too, right? But obviously with the Bombers in there, it's a great thing. It's great to wax poetic about our team again because there's no chink in this armor. I mean, you look at Winnipeg. Where's the weakness? I don't see anything. I blocked the punt last week. Nick Halleck, God bless you, did a great job. I mean, they just find ways to win. If the offense is not up to par, defense kicks it up. 9 sacks. And then you're going against a team like Montreal, who gave up the most or almost the most sacks in a season at 61. Woo, baby. It could be ugly. But maybe BC doesn't want to run the football. That they'll run the football with Stanback. So, I mean, that's a little change in, philosophy. So I don't know. I'm just looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great game.
Could be a little sprinkle of Jesus. Don't forget about that. Don't forget.
Cody.
Yeah.
And you got to be happy for the guy. You really got to be happy. The way he was given the door last year, they kind of, and listen, Saskatchewan's a tough market to play in. That's their team. That's their thing. That's their love. And look at what that was just, I mean, they went from the penthouse to the outhouse. They just did not look good at all. Now I see that Nick Marshall, they got released yesterday. So, boy, I hope they can fix that up. I don't know who the next head coach is. I know they're looking at Buck Pierce. I know they're looking at some other guys. Do you want to leave the team? Does Buck want to leave Winnipeg? I mean, obviously everybody wants to be the head guy, but you're in a pretty cushy position right now. And if I'm Winnipeg, I'm just going to make him assistant head coach. Keep him happy. Bump his pay.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. A lot going on besides the game for sure. Bluto, thank you. As I knew it would be great. You never disappoint. Enjoy the game, man.
Rod, it's always a pleasure. Anytime, brother. I really do love coming out with you guys.
Thank you, pal.
Take care, man. God bless.
The Hall of Famer, the great Chris Walby, joining us live from Bomberland ahead of the 110th Grey Cup. Overtime is on the way next. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio. By the way, that's channel 1190 on Bell MTS Cable in Manitoba, channel 230 on your Shaw Rogers, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Okay, everybody, welcome back for Overtime. So many of your favorite segment of the program here on the CFL's favorite program, The Rod Pedersen Show. But we're never too far away from hockey. It's in our heart, and Overtime is brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, where skill and fun collide. It's an amusement park for hockey enthusiasts. And I invite you down to check it out and maybe try out the Rod Pedersen lane. I'm telling you, I went there with Kevin the Medium, and I could have stayed there all day. Isn't that right, Kevin the Medium? He dragged me out of there. You love shooting pucks. You love being with other hockey-loving people. Licensed bar and restaurant. What's not to love? Big screen TVs. Overtime Hockey Lanes. Check it out. They're at 28th Street Northeast in Calgary. Just a slap shot away from the old Crossroads Flea Market. Check it out. Let me know what you think. I'll get to your comments. Man, did we hit a nerve today? Chad Kelly is like the number one thing we've been talking about. But on the hockey vein, well, number one, hang on, before the sports update. We're running out of time here. But the Cats and Bolts podcast, the one that Serena and I do, follow it on Instagram. We've got a poll on there and Twitter. It's Cats and Bolts podcast. Do you have a problem with Matthew Tkachuk roughing up Connor Bedard on Sunday? 82% of people saying no, they don't have a problem with it. Tkachuk came after Connor Bedard. It was a flyby. It wasn't a little bit of a face wash, not a big deal. But a lot of people are talking about it here in South Florida. I'd love to know your thoughts. Vote on it. Do you have a problem with Matthew Tkachuk bullying the kid, Connor Bedard? I don't, but it's not really a good look. It's similar to what we've been talking about with Chad Kelly. If you don't want to shake hands after the game and you can look yourself in the mirror and you're okay with it, then who's anybody else to tell you what to do? I know hockey people, football people, and high-ranking positions now that have done the exact same thing and never had to pay for it, so why the hell should Chad Kelly? Would I do it? No. but I don't speak for him. You do you. It's kind of the theme of this show, right? Sports update. The Edmonton Oilers now have 2 wins in a row and a new head coach. Chris Knobloch started his tenure as coach of the Oilers with a 4-1 win over the Islanders Monday night. Connor McDavid snapped his scoring slump in the win. Leon Draisaitl had it a goal and 3 assists. First thing Knobloch did was split the two of them up, put them on separate lines. Apparently it worked. Mikko Rantanen and Ross Colton scored 2 minutes apart midway through the second period, and the Colorado Avalanche beat the Seattle Kraken 5-1 in Jared Bednar's 300th career win. The pride of Humboldt Sask. 3 Canadian NHL teams are set to play later today. Flames will face off against the Habs in Montreal, while the Jets host the New Jersey Devils. The Buffalo Bills fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey today with the Josh Allen-led attack stagnating over a 6-week stretch and the 3-time defending AFC East champions falling further out of the playoff picture. Sports update brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And for Landmark Cinemas in theaters November 17th, that's Friday, right? Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, starring Rachel Zegler and Tom Blythe. Quickly to the text line, Blair in Calgary says, CFL fans don't like arrogance, and I think that not shaking hands is somewhat arrogant. I'm not arguing with everybody. Again, feel how you want. This is what I think. Show me a good loser, I'll show you a loser. Brian in Beausejour, Manitoba says, I hope your Jeep is covered down there in Boca Raton. Last minute of play. I got you, Moose. Last minute of play on the RP show. The Jeep is covered, and it looks like the rain has stopped for the day. I covered it. How about that? I actually bought a rain repellent cover. He also says, a balmy day in Beausejour, Manitoba for mid-November, plus 10, 50 degrees Celsius. Thank you for the weather report. Ryan in New York. Great show today, Rod. I hope everyone enjoys whichever sport they watch tonight. Yeah, we got college football tonight. 3 games in the MAC, 5 games in the Dub, including the Saskatoon Blades. The Saskatoon Blades at the Moose Jaw Warriors. We'll talk about it all tomorrow, noon Eastern. It's been a DuPont Media production. Been a fun one. See you tomorrow.